Hello and welcome to Workers' Comp Unwrapped, the podcast that simplifies workers' compensation for physicians. I'm your host, Max, here to give you clear, actionable insights to navigate the medical legal side of workers' comp. So let's get started. Welcome to our third episode of Workers' Comp Unwrapped with Max. Meet Aisha. She has like 15 years of experience in the workers' comp industry.
It's great to be here.
And today we are talking about timing is everything. The critical role of timely authorization requests in healthcare revenue. For doctors who deal with the handling of RFAs, this one's for you.
Absolutely.
So have you ever been so excited for a concert? You get there all dressed up, ready to rock, and then you realize you forgot to buy a ticket.
That sinking feeling.
That's kind of what it feels like when you submit those RFAs late.
Yeah.
Everyone else is getting paid. This show's going on.
Right.
And you're stuck outside wondering what happened.
Yeah.
No RFA, no revenue. We're going to unpack all of that today.
I love that analogies RFAs are essentially your ticket to getting paid in the workers' comp world.
Oh.
They're like a pre-approval from the insurance company saying, hey, we agree this treatment is necessary and we'll pay for it.
So it's not just about getting the initial okay for treatment. It impacts the whole reimbursement process, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Think of it as laying the foundation for a smooth and efficient revenue cycle. A timely and accurate RFA sets the stage for everything that follows.
Okay.
It tells the insurer exactly what treatment you're providing and why, so there are no surprises when it comes time to pay the bill.
Okay, so you've piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if these RFAs get delayed or even denied?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of impact are we talking about here?
Well, delays equal delayed payments, and that can really mess with your cash flow.
Right.
As for denials, well, studies show that healthcare providers lose an average of 9% of their revenue because of denied claims.
Wow.
And a good chunk of those denials are directly tied to issues with RFAs.
9%. That's a serious hit.
Yeah.
They're telling me nearly 1 in $10 I should be getting is just gone. No wonder everyone stresses about these things.
It's a wake-up call for a lot of practices, but the good news is there's a lot you can do to get those RFAs right and protect your revenue.
All right, lay it on me. What's the secret sauce to RFA success?
The key is a clear, thorough, step-by-step process. It all starts with the treatment decision. You and the patient have decided on a course of action, and now it's time to build your case.
So we're thinking like lawyers now.
Exactly. You need to present a compelling argument to the insurance company justifying why this particular treatment is medically necessary.
Okay.
This is where the RFA form comes in. It's like your legal brief, and it needs to be airtight.
So we're not just checking boxes here. We're crafting a narrative.
Precisely. You need to include everything. The specific treatment you're requesting, the patient's history, the rationale for why this treatment is the best option,
Okay.
and even supporting medical literature for specialized procedures. Think of it this way. You're not just telling the insurer what you want to do, you're showing them why it's absolutely necessary.
I'm starting to feel like Sherlock Holmes of workers' comp here, gathering all my evidence.
That's the spirit. And just like a good detective, you need to be organized. I always recommend creating an RFA checklist. It's a simple but powerful tool to ensure you're not missing any crucial pieces of information.
Okay, checklist. Check.
Yeah.
What else can we do to keep those RFAs on track?
Think about designating an RFA czar in your office. This person becomes your go-to expert, overseeing the process, managing deadlines,
Love that.
making sure everything runs smoothly.
I can already see the crown and scepter. They'd be everyone's best friend keeping that revenue flowing.
Right. And let's not forget about the power of technology. Think spreadsheets, software, online portals, anything that helps you track those RFAs, set reminders for follow-ups, and basically eliminate the risk of things falling through the cracks.
So we've got a process down, our checklist is ready, our RFA czar is on the throne, and maybe we've even got some fancy software lending a hand.
Right.
But let's face it, even the best laid plans can go astray. What are some common challenges doctors face in this RFA maze, and how can we overcome them?
The most common culprit is insufficient documentation. Imagine assembling IKEA furniture. You've got all the pieces you excited to build, but then you realize there's a screw missing. The whole thing falls apart.
I've been there. That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So what's our missing screw when it comes to RFAs?
It could be anything. Missing physician notes, incomplete patient history, lack of supporting literature for a specific procedure. Every piece of the puzzle needs to be there for the insurer to get a clear picture and give you that green light.
All right, so attention to detail is key. But what happens when you've dotted all your I's and crossed your T's and you still run into a complex case? You know those situations where the treatment plan isn't so straightforward?
Complex cases require a little extra finesse.
Yeah.
Let's say you're dealing with a multi-step procedure or a surgery.
Okay.
Be prepared to go above and beyond with your documentation.
Okay, so arm yourself with all the ammo.
Exactly. Think test results, specialist reports, physician notes detailing the rationale behind every decision, even studies or case examples that validate the chosen treatment.
You're basically saying don't just tell them, show them.
Precisely. Build a rock-solid case up front, and you'll minimize the chances of delays and denials. And then, of course, you have those dreaded insurer delays.
Ugh, yes, those. It's like they're holding your revenue hostage sometimes.
It can definitely feel that way. But here's the thing. You have more power than you think.
Okay.
Be persistent. Document every interaction, follow up regularly.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to escalate the issue if needed. Think of yourself as your own best advocate in this process.
Persistence and organization. Got it. Now let's talk tech. We've hinted at it, but I know there are some tools out there that can streamline this whole RFA process.
Right.
What's the magic solution?
The days of faxing and praying are fading fast.
Okay.
There are platforms designed specifically for workers' comp billing, like MLM, that allow you to file RFAs, electronically track deadlines, and get alerts for follow-ups.
So no more wondering if that fax machine actually went through. No more playing phone tag with the insurance company.
Exactly. It's all about efficiency and peace of mind.
Yeah.
These systems can even integrate with your electronic health records, or EHR,
Okay.
to reduce errors by automatically pulling patient data. It's like having a super organized assistant working 24/7.
Hold on. For those who might not be as familiar, what exactly is an EHR and how does it play into all of this?
Great question. An EHR, or electronic health record, is basically a digital version of a patient's chart. It contains their medical history, diagnoses, medications, treatment plans, and everything in between.
Okay.
When these systems can talk to each other, it means fewer manual entries for you,
Right.
fewer chances for typos, and a much smoother flow of information.
All right. That makes sense. Less paperwork, more automation. I'm liking where this is going. But let's bring this down to earth for a second. Can you give us a real-world example of how a practice actually used technology to get a handle on their RFAs?
Absolutely. Let me tell you about Dr. Jameson's office. They were struggling with RFA denials and delays, spending hours on the phone, and feeling like they were constantly chasing their tails. It was a classic case of fax machine frustration.
I can feel their pain.
So what did they do?
They took the plunge and switched to MLM, and let me tell you, it was a game changer.
Really? What kind of results did they see?
Their denials and delays dropped by a whopping 50% in just a few months.
Plus, their entire billing cycle sped up significantly. Imagine that, getting paid faster, less hassle, and a happier team all around.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds like the right technology can really make all the difference.
It absolutely can. But remember, technology is only part of the equation. You also need a dedicated team that understands the importance of those timely and accurate RFA submissions.
So it's a team effort blending human expertise with technological power.
Precisely.
This is all great information, but before we move on, I think we should address a couple of questions that came in from our listeners. First up, what happens if my RFA gets denied because I missed some information? Can I resubmit it?
Absolutely. Don't panic if you get a denial.
Okay.
Take a deep breath, review the denial reason carefully, and gather any missing documentation. Then you can resubmit the RFA with the corrected or completed information.
So it's not a one-shot deal. There's room for redemption.
Right.
Now, another listener asks, how often should I be following up on a pending RFA?
A good rule of thumb is to follow up within 5 business days if you haven't heard anything back from the insurer.
Okay.
Most electronic systems will send you alerts, but it's always good to keep track of those deadlines yourself.
Great advice. Stay organized, be persistent, and don't be afraid to follow up.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be surprised how often a simple follow-up can prevent a minor issue from snowballing into a major delay.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, we've talked about those common challenges like documentation hiccups and insurer delays. But what about those situations where you really need to fight for a specific treatment? You know, when the insurer might be hesitant to approve it.
That's where your RFA really needs to shine. It's not just about providing information, it's about crafting a compelling narrative. Think of it as your mini defense of the treatment plan.
Okay, so we're back to being lawyers again. What's our strategy?
You need to go beyond simply stating the medical necessity. You need to paint a clear picture for the insurer, explaining not just what the treatment is,
Okay.
but how it fits into the patient's overall recovery plan and why it's the best option for their specific situation.
So we're anticipating their questions, addressing their concerns before they even have them.
Exactly. Let's say you're requesting authorization for ongoing physical therapy.
Okay.
Don't just say, patient needs PT. Instead, provide detailed progress notes, include test results that demonstrate improvement, and clearly articulate how continued therapy will help the patient regain function and get back to their life.
It's like connecting the dots for them, showing them the whole picture.
Precisely. And remember, even with a perfectly crafted RFA, those frustrating insurer delays can still happen.
Oh, believe me, I know. It's like they have a secret playbook of delay tactics.
Maybe they do. But here's how you can combat that.
Okay.
First, document everything. Every phone call, every email, every interaction, keep a detailed record of it all.
It's like building an evidence trail, right?
You got it. This documentation can be invaluable if you need to escalate the issue later on. Don't hesitate to reach out to a supervisor or a dedicated claims advocate within the insurance company if you're not getting the responses you need.
So don't be afraid to go up the chain of command.
Exactly. And if you've exhausted all your options internally and those delays are becoming a recurring problem, it might be time to consult with an attorney who specializes in workers' comp.
It's good to know there's someone in our corner if things get really tough. Now, shifting gears a bit, we've talked about the individual steps in this RFA journey, but let's zoom out and talk about the team. How important is staff training in all of this?
Staff training is absolutely crucial. Think about it, everyone from the front desk staff who gather patient information to the billing team who submit those RFAs plays a role in this process.
So it's a chain reaction, and a weak link can throw off the whole system.
Exactly. Invest in training that covers the basics. What an RFA is, why it's important, what information needs to be included, and how to use your specific submission methods, whether it's an online portal software like MLM or even good old-fashioned faxing.
So we're tailoring the training to our specific workflow and the tools we're using.
Precisely. And don't forget to cover those common pitfalls we discussed earlier. Make sure your team knows how to spot errors like missing documentation or incorrect coding and knows how to fix them quickly.
So it's about empowering your team to be proactive problem solvers.
Exactly. Regular training sessions, clear documentation protocols, and open communication are the cornerstones of a smooth and successful RFA process.
Let's take a moment to recap what we've learned so far. First and foremost, timing is everything. Submitting those RFAs quickly and accurately is crucial to avoid those revenue-killing delays and denials.
Absolutely. And remember, a well-crafted RFA is like a good story. It needs to clearly explain the medical necessity of the treatment and show the insurer how it benefits the patient's recovery.
We've also talked about the power of technology to streamline this whole process.
Right. Whether it's an online portal, specialized software, or even a good old-fashioned spreadsheet, find tools that work for your practice and use them to stay organized, track those deadlines, and minimize those pesky errors.
And let's not forget about the human element. A well-trained team is your secret weapon in the RFA game. Invest in their knowledge. Empower them to be proactive, and you'll see the results in your bottom line.
It's all connected.
Now, before we jump into our final segment where we'll answer a few more listener questions and leave you with some parting thoughts, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. A smooth RFA process isn't just about protecting your revenue, it's about ensuring your patients get the timely care they need and deserve.
That's such an important point. A streamlined RFA process benefits everyone involved, the practice, the insurer, and most importantly, the patient.
So let's keep those patients in mind as we navigate this sometimes complex world of workers' comp. Now let's dive into a few more questions from our listeners. This one came in. My office is considering switching to an electronic RFA submission system, but there are so many options out there. What features should we be prioritizing?
That's a great question, and it's a question I get asked a lot. There are a few key things to look for. First, real-time tracking and updates. You want to be able to see exactly where each RFA is in the process and get notified immediately if there are any changes or requests from the insurer.
So transparency and instant communication are key.
Absolutely. Next, think about integration. Does the system seamlessly integrate with your existing EHR? Can it automatically pull patient data to reduce manual entry and minimize those pesky errors?
Less manual work and fewer chances to mess something up. Sign me up. What else should we be on the lookout for?
Don't underestimate the importance of reporting and analytics. You want a system that can generate detailed reports on your RFA submissions, including approval rates, denial reasons, and average processing times. This data can be a goldmine for identifying areas where you can improve your process and track your progress over time.
So it's not just about submitting those RFAs, it's about analyzing the data to become more efficient and effective.
Exactly. And finally, don't skimp on customer support. Choose a vendor that offers reliable and responsive support. You want to know you can reach out for help if you encounter any technical issues or have questions about the system.
Makes sense. Okay, on to our next listener question. This one is a common one. We're dealing with some serious delays from a particular insurer. What steps can we take to get things moving?
Insurer delays can be incredibly frustrating, but there are things you can do to try and resolve them.
Okay.
First and foremost, double-check everything on your end. Are your RFAs complete and accurate? Are all the required fields filled out correctly?
Okay.
Are your justifications for the requested treatment clear and concise?
So make sure there's absolutely no room for the insurer to stall or come back with requests for additional information?
Exactly. Next, establish a clear point of contact for all RFA-related communication with the insurer. Having one dedicated person handling these matters streamlines communication and prevents confusion.
It's like having an RFA ambassador.
I like that. And of course, document every interaction. Keep a detailed record of phone calls, emails, and any other correspondence. This documentation can be incredibly helpful if you need to escalate the issue or involve a third party later on.
So again, that paper trail is crucial.
Absolutely. If those delays persist despite your best efforts, don't hesitate to escalate the issue within the insurance company. Reach out to a supervisor or a dedicated claims advocate and express your concerns. Sometimes just getting a fresh pair of eyes on the situation can help get things moving.
It's about being proactive and advocating for your practice.
Precisely. And if all else fails, remember, you always have the option to consult with an attorney specializing in workers' comp. They can advise you on your rights and options and may even be able to help expedite the process.
It's good to know we have those resources available.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap things up, let's talk about a topic that often goes hand in hand with RFAs denials. What are some of the most common reasons why RFAs get denied, and what can practices do to avoid those pitfalls?
RFA denials are never fun, but understanding why they happen can help you prevent them. One of the most frequent reasons is, you guessed it, incomplete or insufficient documentation. That missing screw strikes again. It sure does. Always remember to provide all the necessary documentation to support the medical necessity of the treatment you're requesting. Detailed physician notes, test results, imaging studies, even relevant research or articles for specialized procedures paint a complete picture for the insurer, leaving no room for doubt.
So we're giving them everything they need to make an informed decision, right?
Right. Another common reason for denials is something you might not expect. Incorrect coding. Workers' compensation billing codes can be tricky, and even a small mistake can lead to a denial.
So it's crucial to have a team that's well-versed in those codes and stays up to date on any changes.
Absolutely. Regular training on workers' comp coding is a must. And of course, we can't forget about timeliness. Submitting those RFAs within the required timeframes is essential. Check your state regulations and the insurer's specific guidelines and make sure you're meeting all those deadlines.
So it's a trifecta of accuracy: complete documentation, correct coding, and timely submissions.
Exactly. Those are your 3 keys to minimizing denials and keeping that revenue flowing. And even if you do everything right, denials can still happen. It's not the end of the world. Most insurers have an appeals process. If you truly believe a denial was unjustified, gather all your supporting documentation, write a compelling appeal letter, and submit it promptly.
So don't give up without a fight. Now, Aisha, you've got years of experience in the workers' comp world. What's the single most important piece of advice you'd give to practices looking to optimize their RFA process and really maximize their revenue?
Be proactive. Don't wait for problems to pop up before you address them. Implement a solid RFA process. Train your team, embrace technology that works for you, and stay informed about industry changes and best practices.
So it's about being in the driver's seat, taking control, and constantly striving to improve.
Exactly. When you're proactive, you minimize errors, reduce denials, get paid faster, and ultimately set your practice up for financial success.
That's powerful advice. Now, before we move on to our final thoughts, let's tackle one more question from a listener. This one resonated with me. We're a small practice with limited resources. Any tips for improving our RFA process without breaking the bank?
I love that question. You don't need a huge budget to make a big impact. Start with staff training. You don't necessarily need fancy programs. Create a culture of knowledge sharing within your team. Have experienced team members lead in-house training sessions focusing on your specific processes and challenges.
So leverage the expertise you already have.
Exactly. And don't forget about all those free resources available online. Professional organizations, industry, publications, even webinars. There's a wealth of information out there just waiting to be tapped.
Knowledge is power, and sometimes it's free.
Absolutely. When it comes to technology, start small and scale up as needed. You don't need to invest in expensive software right away. Spreadsheets, online calendars, even simple tools like these can help you track deadlines and stay organized. As you grow, you can explore more sophisticated options.
So start with what you can afford and build from there.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of good old-fashioned communication and collaboration. Encourage open dialogue between your billing team, clinical staff, and the insurance companies. When everyone is on the same page and working together, you can resolve issues quickly and prevent them from becoming bigger problems.
So teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. And finally, organization is key. Implement a clear and consistent process for handling RFAs, create checklists, and establish standardized procedures. This will minimize errors, reduce confusion, and streamline your entire workflow.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Even small practices with limited resources can make a significant difference in their RFA process.
Yeah. Small changes can lead to big improvements over time. It's all about finding what works for your practice and building from there.
Absolutely. Now it's time for our final thoughts, Aisha. As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of RFAs, what's the one message you really want our listeners to walk away with?
Remember this, RFAs are not just another administrative burden. They're the foundation of your practice's financial well-being and your ability to provide the best possible care to your patients.
They're really the key to unlocking everything.
Exactly. When you master the RFA process, you're not just protecting your revenue, you're ensuring your patients get the timely treatment they deserve. It's a win-win for everyone.
So how can our listeners take everything we've discussed today and put it into action? What are the concrete steps they can take to become RFA masters?
Here are a few key takeaways to remember. First, create a system. Document your process, create those checklists, and establish clear procedures. This will help you minimize errors or reduce confusion and streamline your workflow.
A well-oiled machine ready to handle those RFAs with ease.
Exactly. Second, invest in your team. Make sure everyone involved in the RFA process understands their role, the importance of accuracy and timeliness, and the resources available to them.
Knowledge is power, especially in the world of workers' comp.
Absolutely. Third, embrace technology. Find the tools that work for you, whether it's an online portal, specialized software, or even a simple spreadsheet, and use them to your advantage.
Technology can be your secret weapon in this game.
It certainly can. And finally, be proactive. Don't wait for problems to arise before you address them. Stay informed about industry changes, review your processes regularly, and constantly look for ways to improve.
So it's about staying ahead of the curve and constantly striving for excellence.
Exactly. By taking a proactive and informed approach to RFAs, you can transform them from a potential headache into a powerful tool for success.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Aisha, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wealth of knowledge.
It was my pleasure. I hope our listeners found this deep dive valuable and are now ready to tackle those RFAs with confidence.
And the listeners, remember, you can find more information and links to all the helpful resources we mentioned today in our show notes. Don't forget to tune in to our next episode where we'll tackle another crucial topic, billing submissions with correct codes. We'll break it down, explain why it matters, and give you the tools to navigate it effectively. Until then, stay informed, stay organized, and stay on top of those RFAs. Thanks for listening to Workers' Comp Unwrapped. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe and share with fellow doctors. Stay informed and keep making a difference in your patients' care.